You are listening to another AlwaysMoto production. The AlwaysMoto podcast with your host, David Hogan. We talk moto events from around the world. All the injuries, all the training ins and outs, the bikes, parts and gear inspections. The results, we interview your favourite riders. It's the AlwaysMoto podcast. We occasionally have some coarse language and the odd stuff up along the way. If you don't like it or you don't agree with us, turn it off right now.
I'd like to remind you that he is not a doctor.
That's right, Moto fans. This is episode 176 of the AlwaysMoto podcast, proudly brought to you by TechnicMotorsport.com. I'm your host, David Hogan, and we'll be joined in the show in a sec by the AlwaysMoto contractor, Ben Grinly. And we're going to go through everything and anything Moto here because it's always all about Moto here on the AlwaysMoto network. This week's show, it should be pretty obvious. It's our first show of 2026, but it's all about Anaheim 1. But we're going to throw in some other stuff here as well because we have got a Stark Varg EX as a test bike for the next few weeks. So we're going to talk to you about that. And we're going to talk about, obviously, the injuries that have happened at Anaheim 1. So a lot to get through here on the show. But all these bikes and teams out there, they all have something in common. They all have suspension on their bikes, and they use either KYB or Showa suspensions for a lot of them, and they service them with genuine parts and accessories. And KYB and Showa, they have an Australian distributor, and that is TechnicMotorsport.com, and they are in Sydney. So why would you use non-genuine seals, wipers, bushes, and other consumables when these parts are available in Australia and generally available the following day, and they perform better than those aftermarket parts? TechnicMotorsport.com is your place to go to for KYB and Showa, from seals to fork tubes, individual internal components, A-kit suspensions. They've got it, and they've got it in stock. Use the Find My Bike tool on their website to find compatible parts, and new parts are being added all the time on TechnicMotorsport.com. If you're not in Australia, that's okay. They have a currency converter on their website, and they ship, and a shipping calculator, and they ship daily with DHL, so check them out. Our other show supporters, of course, Duramoose. We've had that Duramoose inspection up on YouTube. We've got it on the Spotify feeds as well, so check those guys out. Duramoose, the way to get no flats in your bikes anymore. Of course, Pivot Pegs, Competitive Edge Performance, and Tech 167 3D printing for the show support. And pretty much now for the next few weeks while we've got this Stark Varg, Stark Future as well is on board with us as well. So there's plenty there that you can go and support. Now, our t-shirts are still available. It's this one here that I'm wearing. They are $25 plus postage and handling. We have plenty of them in stock. So send us an email, info@alwaysmoto.com, to get yourself one of them to show some support for us. If you don't want a shirt, that's okay, but you want to support the show, that's even better. You can do it via our PayPal. You can just send a donation in, and that will be very much appreciated. Now, that PayPal link and all those other company links and some show discount codes are available in the show notes below or on our bio, on our social pages. You can get those links via that Linktree app there. Now let's bring in, and we'll get the mouse working across the screen. Let's bring in Ben Grinly. Here he is, the contractor. How are we doing, Benny, for 2026?
I'm all right. How are you going, Dave?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's taken us a little bit to get here. We couldn't do anything last week. I had a big week. Kids are on school holidays. Got Stark Varg in the garage these days, so I've got to ride a bit more. Not that I don't ride enough as it is, but I'm riding even more. So there's a lot going on, but we're here. We managed to have Anaheim 1. A little bit excited to be talking to them and getting back in the swing of this stuff, mate.
Yeah, it's exciting. A1 always brings the hype, and it definitely lived up to that.
Yeah, a few people were saying that it was like, no real off-season for them. And I guess for us, as Aussies, with the Australian Championship, that we have the Supercross series at the end of the year and a bit of World Supercross thrown in there as well at times, we never really have an off season. We have a couple of weeks here or there, but obviously the Christmas New Year is our off season. But the Americans sort of felt it a bit this year because they were a bit more running around, both their media coming to international events, but a lot of the riders did a few different international events that they probably didn't have before. Argentina, Gold Coast, and South Africa and all those sorts of ones. They were going around a bit. So they didn't have much time either. They felt the pinch and they felt it maybe wasn't as exciting, but from the outside looking in, not being at Anaheim this year still as exciting as ever for me, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's always exciting. Those, the weeks leading up to it, and like you said, there wasn't much gap. I think from when we left the Gold Coast, there wasn't really that much time. You got Christmas and New Year in between that fills that gap pretty quick, and then it's here. So, it's good that it's back, but I can't complain about those off-season races and Australian Supercross that we get to go to. It fills in the gap pretty good. Yeah,
for us, definitely does. Also gives us that one-on-one contact. We can get to those events pretty easy, so it does help to just connect the dots for us on some of these things at times. But Anaheim won. It's been done. It's been won. It's usually a topsy-turvy or a crazy result or event. I'm going to say it pretty much matched what we would expect from an Anaheim one. Probably not who you thought was going to win in either class, but overall, people that probably should and could win more than likely did get there, and that was Eli Tomac in the 450 class and Max Anstey in the 250 class. But I'm not sure too many people would have had Eli and Max as the winners for both classes. Benny, I'm sure you didn't.
I think I was probably a bit more confident in Max, especially after World Supercross.
Okay.
That effort, that would, I'm more confident in him. But the 450 class is such a, it could be anyone. You just don't know. Everyone says that, if they've got a new bike, that it's good, blah, blah, blah. People that are on their old bike, they're comfy, all that sort of stuff. But you just really don't know. And especially when Jed's out, it opens it up even more. And it just, that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah, you touched on it there. Obviously, the Australian hopeful, the defending SMX champ, not Supercross champ, but the Super Motocross champion, Jet Lawrence, went out there with that nasty talus fracture that's going to keep him out for a few weeks yet. And I think I saw a photo of him on socials today, still rolling around with that foot in a cast on one of those scooter setups. So he's not getting closer to that, up and mobile and training point even just yet. So there's still a bit for him to go. But it did open up this field for the 450s, probably gave a few people a bit of a shot of adrenaline and the fact that they might think that they could get there for a championship or something too, or even just race wins and podiums. Maybe they could see a few more bonus checks in the mail sort of situation. But I got to say, I did not have Eli as my win. I've been saying for a while now that I thought Eli was on that bit of a decline, and when just from an age point of view more than anything, and obviously a few injuries there in the last few years sort of just maybe starting to add up on that side of things. You saw in the end of motocross that he wasn't sort of in touch with the lead too. But Supercross is obviously a different game. He did really well when he went to that first World Supercross round, but the Gold Coast one sort of influenced me, I think, because the bike didn't look that good there. And obviously they still had 4 or 5 weeks to work on that, and they've obviously made some efforts in that. But I still, even in qualifying, when I saw some stuff and early in the race day stuff that I was watching, I still wasn't stoked on how that all looked. But he looked feisty in the main event, went straight to the front and commanded it, really. I think he might have got a little bit lucky that Cooper Webb wasn't up there on that restart, I should say, because I feel like Cooper was going to be ticking off an A1 win in that first one. The way he was looking, the way he went to the front, that was pretty impressive. But then obviously it all was for nothing really with that red flag.
Yeah, I think you said it as well just then. It's when we left the Gold Coast, I wasn't very confident at all.
It didn't look good, eh?
It was, And Tomac walked through those whoops better than he could ride, and he probably, by the end of the night, that's all he wanted to do was walk through them. So, but yeah, come out, guns ablaze, firing, and took the win. I didn't expect it. Like I said, I was a bit more confident with Max, but yeah, I really didn't see him taking the win.
Now, the one that I thought was going to get the win, and this is sort of a bit of stability coming into that, decision that I made, a bit of past history, and just the fact that he's still, super speedy, and he is just, he's Ken Roxon. He's damn good. Kenny's got a good history at A1. Obviously, he's done a couple of, rounds with World Supercross, looked really good at those rounds, and the fact that he hasn't changed diddly squat for quite a while now on that Suzuki team. I thought he was going to get it done, and I reckon if he had got the start, he would have. And the fact that he was there or thereabouts that whole moto in Anaheim. Yeah, he could have got it done. So he was damn close. So he was my pick, and I'm going to pick him for this week coming up because I looked at the track map already. It's a busy short rhythm sections. There's one long rhythm lane. I don't know if you checked it out yet, Bernie, but there's only one full length rhythm lane down the one side of the stadium. The rest are all really short, and I think that's going to suit Kenny a little bit with his explosiveness in those opening laps. So I'm picking him again. I reckon he's going to have red plate after this weekend, but Ken was solid in Anaheim.
Yeah, and it's the same sort of thing. Him leaving the Gold Coast looked really good. Like probably one of the best times I've seen him ride, especially here in Australia. But yeah, I think it's quite possible, like you said, that at the end of this weekend he'll have a red plate. He's always going to be there, no matter what seems to happen. He's always hanging around the podium, third, fourth, always in that area. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, special mention to the man on the podium for the first time, Jorge Prado. I got to say, Prado was right. It seems that all the decisions and the stuff that he was saying at the end of last year, he sort of was right. But there is a big but after that comment, because that was one round at an unusual situation of Anaheim 1 where all these things can potentially happen, and they have happened in the past. But if he backs this up, or even close to backing it up with like a top 5 this coming week and the following weekend, I think he basically shoves all that in everybody's faces and goes, see, I told you so.
Yeah, there's a very big if, and like you said, we need to see this weekend. I think top 10, even if he didn't get a podium for the rest of the year, that still shows that, it was the bike. The bike changed him. But I'm just not sure. I need to see more yet.
Yeah, I'm stoked for him. I'm happy to say that he was right. But if he backs it up, like I said, he'll just shove it all in everybody's face, even more so than he already probably has this week after what he did at Anaheim 1. But well done, Jorge Prado. I think we're better for it as a sport that he's doing, that if he can continue to do this, particularly if we can get Jet back healthy for outdoors and have Jet, Hunter, Chase, Eli and Jorge fully fit rocketing. If we could have a really crazy outdoor series if they can get that way, but that's obviously a long way off yet. But let's see if you can back it up one more week. Now, some honourable mentions before we get to the two that didn't have such an honourable night. Jason Anderson, I'm pretty stoked on his ride for 5th, and I actually asked Clinton Fowler 3 laps down Fowler's Fast Facts, I think he is. He used to be 3 laps down. He's changed his name. He's the man that does all the stats on the SMX Insider videos, and he actually, because I thought it must have been a long time, Benny, since 2 Suzukis in the top 5. Turns out it was only San Francisco in 2024.
Yes, I did see that. The back and forth on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it today. But you're right. I would have thought it was further back. Yeah,
I just, for some reason, I was like, Josie, that's got to be a first for a while. But yeah, so Jason Anderson, well done. I wouldn't be surprised if Suzuki gets 2 bikes in the top 3 on the podium at some point this season, because Anderson looks good on that Suzuki. I think it's one of those situations where what you grow up on in those later periods of your 80s and 125 250s, whatever it was, that these guys are probably 250s these days, but what they grow up on in that end period of their amateur career, they tend to have a familiarity with those bikes, and whenever they end up back on them in the pro ranks, they seem to do really well. Ken Roxon's an example. Jason Anderson's now an example. Jorge Prado's an example. He only ever rode KTMs. The one time he rode something else, he didn't work out, as we were just mentioning. So yeah, it's something to keep an eye on. So yeah, good for him. Hunter Lawrence, reasonable A1 for him for a change, which is good with 4th. But then we get into the not so honourable mentions. Chase Sexton, Cooper Webb, unfortunate, like I said at the start of this, probably the red flag screwed his evening a little bit. And Justin Cooper, there's an anomaly there. The man needs to figure out how to skim whoops.
Yeah, it's not great.
That's the best answer. It's not great. No.
Yeah, it's not great at all. I can't hit a set. I've rolled a set. I've never hit a set. But for someone who this is their job, I think we should be skimming them.
Yeah, look, there's just something there, whether it's psychological, whether it's just comfort and setup on his bike. I don't know. You're right, but for a professional, they should be capable of doing both. He clearly isn't. I don't know why, but like he's fantastically fast on the rest of the track because he's obviously capable of getting up there very high in the results. But just that, I feel that just holds him back from being a race winner at some point. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he gets a different scenario, a different track breakdown, a mud race, something. But if we're talking all things equal and everybody's not having bad starts or crashes on opening laps, I just don't see him getting a win in that method of track approach to the whoops.
Yeah, and I think early on everyone was jumping. Okay, there was probably only one or two that jumped early because I was actually having a conversation about it with a mate while we were watching it, and like Hunter started jumping early, a few of the others started jumping early. I think RJ wasn't jumping, and look how that ended up. It's just probably why
another not so honourable mention.
Yeah, which is why Justin Cooper probably doesn't want to skim them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure whether we're just playing the safe game for the first round. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a point. Maybe he just wanted to get through it. He didn't have the best of starts and had to work through, so that might have played a factor into it too. But at some point, a few of them did revert to skimming later on. They all found that one side of the whoops that started working a bit better. Yeah, some of them still jumped, but did you see the video, actually, speaking of the whoops, the video of Jason Anderson that I think it was Jason Lawrence put up today, where he was so smooth at the end of that whoop section to just drop into it, double or triple, whatever it was, out of the last bit of the whoops, and then triple the double out, like triple the jumps out to the corner, and just so smooth. It was beautiful. Yeah,
it was a really good line. I did see that earlier today, yes.
Yeah, that was cool. So, yeah. So, look, there's something there. Cooper Webb, like we said, I'm not going to dwell on it, but, yeah, if that red flag doesn't come out, I reckon he wins. But it just changed his whole night. Unfortunately, he got caught up a bit, and that's restart. Look for him to have a bounce back this week coming, and I wouldn't be surprised he either wins or is, second or third, with Ken in there. And then the third position on the podium this weekend, you got to think Chase Sexton's doing something, because you can't have 2 weeks like that after making all this noise about the change was necessary, a la Jorge Prado, and then do what he did at Anaheim 1 and not really back this up. But I think he saw more of the sides of the track than he saw of the track at Anaheim.
I think you're right. I think he's definitely doing something. I think he's probably hiding under a rock at this point.
Wants to crawl under a rock anyway. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be in an earshot of anyone or let anyone see me. I'd be hiding way away. He needs a really big bounce back this week. There was plenty of noise about this whole move and everything else, and like you said, he was more off track, more on the ground than actually racing. So there needs to be a big step up this weekend.
Yeah, so I think if we talk results and past history, I feel like the winners and the top 3 from Anaheim aren't usually the top 3 at round 2, one of them will be there, but they won't be the one that usually isn't the one that wins, doesn't win again in the second round, because that's where all those bounce backs, the Cooper Webbs, the Chase Sexton, the Hunter Lawrence might be the one that wins in round 2. But somebody's going to have a somewhat consistent result to then be the one that comes out as the points leader. Hence, I'm saying that could be Ken Roxon. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's Eli Tomac still holding on to it for another week. But I just don't see a replication of what happened at Anaheim 1 results-wise being this week again. Let's see, but yeah, look, it just means it's exciting for us to watch this week, right?
Yes, it is. Yep. At least, you're on the edge of your seat waiting for, hurry up. Sunday for us, for those listening in America.
Yeah.
It's Sunday for us. You're hanging out for it. Yeah,
exactly. So, quick on into the 250s. Obviously, Max Anstey, very solid ride to come through past a couple of guys there at the start. Obviously, had to make the move on Chance Hymas and then Ryder D. Ryder D dropping back to third, but holding on to that one. Obviously, great ride there from Hymas. I wasn't expecting that after his long break with his ACL, and he's been very inconsistent with Supercross with injuries of the last 2 seasons he's tried to do it. So that was a positive sign for Chance Hymas. He looked really good. Ryder D, I think Ryder D is going to be a sneaky one this year. I think there's more from him. He might not win this championship, but he's going to be top 3, I reckon.
Yeah, it's quite possible. Really good performance from him and Hymas together. Probably thought Ryder would have floated back a bit, but I think once he got to third, he sort of just stayed. I think there was a big enough gap behind him to not get sucked into that. Really good performance for him to get on the podium.
Yeah, and Hayden Deegan obviously salvaged that night. I think there's something wrong with Deegan's starts in general, because he's not the greatest of starters in most scenarios, and in outdoors it doesn't really matter so much for him. He's good enough to get a reasonable start, and his fitness obviously comes into it, and the wider tracks and the bit more wide open loose technique of his comes into play. That doesn't work so well in Supercross, and that showed. The fitness is what got him through that one to that fourth, and his determination, not so much his technique and his speed, because he did salvage fourth, which was good, but Supercross is an inconsistent game for him at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, he's definitely not as good at the Supercross layouts as he is in the outdoors. There's a few names under him that can battle with him or beat him, but the rest of that list, he's definitely a lot better than the people below him. Then you've got the 3 in front of him. I think they're going to make it a hard championship for him, especially with Max. I don't think it's going to be as easy as he probably thought or hoped it would be. No,
Max is really old, coming from somebody who's older than him, but Max is really old in that class, considering he was just become the oldest person to win a 250 race, so that's pretty interesting. But he's growing into this role, and I think he's learnt a lot over the last sort of 3 years now with the Australian Supercross Championships, the World Supercross Championships, his experience in winning AMA races and then having the championships taken away with injuries and stuff like that. So this one might be the year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he sneaks it away from Hayden Deegan in his final year on the 250. It could be a bit of an upset on the cards here, but let's watch this and see. The other part of this, another not so honourable mention now, Levi Kitchen, the man touted as the one to challenge Deegan. He might have given him too much of a head start here at the opening round.
Yeah, it's not ideal, especially not being on the ground first corner's not how you want to start. Did well to get back to 6th, but even then I thought he was probably going to get 4th or 5th at least. But it just didn't happen. No, he didn't move through enough, and he was on the tail of Deegan at one point there trying to move through the field, but I think he might have tipped over again or something happened, because he just didn't continue to stay with Deegan's progress late in that main. So anyway, let's see what he's got this week. Maybe he's the bounce back for the 250 class. It's possible.
Yeah.
Just just quickly too, before we leave the 250 class, going back to that experience of Anstey and sort of growing in that, you think back to the Gold Coast, how hot and disgusting it was, and they even likened it to the Florida weather and whatever else. The man is smart. He was the only person to come into the change rooms in the nice cool air conditioning outside, just around the corner from our media tables, was jumping in the ice bath that the Titans use mid-game, whatever, that they had there, and it was very cold. The only person till, just before the night show, I think, and then Cody Shock came in.
Yeah, Cody came in for that night program, for the main events. That was it, so...
Yeah, that's, everyone else is sitting out there in the heat. They all had the option to come in and sit in the cool. Being out in that heat takes it out of you. Then you're racing, racing the one, each heat. It's, it's smart thinking.
Yeah,
no one else did it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic point you raise, and that just goes to what we're saying about his wisdom, his old man wisdom that he's going to have. So maybe that's a thing we can start, old man wisdom, Max Anstey, So it is a good point. Let's see if he can find those little things along the way to continue to just outdo the young whippersnipper in Hayden Deegan. So, yeah. But I was going to point out too, one more point onto the racing for Anaheim 1 specifically, entry numbers. Now, normally Anaheim 1 is a massive entry list, and to the point where they sometimes even turn away riders. They only had 44 entrants in the 450 class, meaning that only 4 people didn't make the night show program from the day qualifiers. So that's down, I would suggest. And in the 250 class, they had 50, which better than the 450s, but only marginal. That's 10 that didn't make the night show program. So, look, I feel like the entry numbers might be off a little bit this year at the moment, at least. We'll keep an eye on it throughout the season. But normally these are the numbers we sort of get towards the end of the season once we've lost a few more riders with injuries. So, yeah, just a bit, for me, a bit down, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. But, it could be a dollar factor. Everything's going up. You hear it, across the news everywhere. Things more expensive. That could be part of it. People could just be waiting for the East Coast. Who knows? Yeah,
maybe we have a bunch of, the 250s particularly, just East Coast riding. So we'll see. Some other news since we've been off. The Hunter Yoda Club MX announcement, Benny. Did you see that one about the 2-year extension?
I did. I thought it was a bit weird.
Yeah, I think everybody did, because there was a few questions that were asked in different sources that I've seen. But I actually went straight back to Mike B from the email that the PR came from and said, "Hey, Mike, what's the go? Is he, to 2027 or 2028 with this? And does this include everything now or what?" And the response I got was it's till 2027, end of 2027. But it's not all of motocross. He was on a Supercross only deal for this year's Supercross, so 2026's Supercross. So yeah, it's an extension, but it's more like 1.5, basically, because he already had this year's Supercross involved. But really interesting that it's happened before the season, and then I can't remember the exact points of the announcements, but then to find out that the Tuesday before Anaheim 1, which probably would have been a couple of days after this announcement, he's got a knee injury, which we'll talk about in the emergency department later on. But just all, Hunter Yoda news up the wazoo. Yeah,
well, I was actually going to say, where was the timing of the knee and the the announcement? But you just said it there. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure. I had to double look to see if I was actually seeing right, because he'd only just signed, not that long ago, and then we've got an extension. So, I mean, it's good. It's good for him, and he did really well. But yeah, just a weird one.
He must have had some hell of speed at the test tracks during the weeks before the season. But anyway, good for Hunter Yoda, good for Club MX. They're locking in a few people now with, like Max Volan's been there for a little while now. I'm assuming he's up at the end of this year, I think it is. So whether he gets an extension, but obviously that Cody Shock 3-year deal, he's partway through that now. So yeah, they're locking in some people for some decent amounts of time. So, and lots of announcements out of Club MX, to be honest. Like they've got the Chad Reed announcement about being director of performance. They announced today, I think it was today or yesterday, about a KTM off-road group, like training aspect being signed there as well. Can't remember the name of that one off the top of my head. Sorry, Mike. I've got the emails. I can't look at it right now while we're streaming. But anyway, yeah, there's plenty of news there happening at Club MX, and that facility. One day I'll get there because it looks insane. So
yeah, the videos and the photos and everything that comes out of there, it looks like it's a really good place to go, and the results are somewhat showing. There's Cody's shop was not too bad beforehand, but has definitely leveled up his game, and a few other riders we've seen do a lot better. So it's definitely serving its purpose.
Yeah, definitely is. The SMX venues were announced, Benny. Did you see that?
I did see that. I can't say I've looked them up, but I did see that, yeah.
Look, one of us put in some effort this afternoon. I had a couple of minutes, so I thought, wonder where these places are, because they're not the ones we've used previously for Super Motocross playoffs. So I thought, obviously, there must be something to this. Thank God we got rid of Charlotte Drag Strip. I hated that venue for the fact you were stuck between the concrete walls, and the fact that the concrete walls were still exposed and you could crash straight into them. That didn't seem like a very good thing coming from the guy that reports on the injuries. So I was happy with that. So I looked these venues up. We've got Historic Crew Stadium in Columbus, Ohio. Now, you would think for the playoffs, you would want something with decent amount of seating, correct?
Yes.
Have a guess how many seats this stadium, Historic Crew Stadium, has.
Do you know what they play in this stadium?
Soccer.
15, 20?
Less than 20,000 seats. I think it was like 19,700 and something, or something along those lines, right? High 19s. So yeah, it's a soccer stadium. But what I'm guessing from the aerial view of the satellite that I looked at, there is a massive amount of car parking around this venue. Like, I'm talking like 6 different massive car parking lots that all look like they're ground level slots. So one, there should be plenty of space for the team transporters and a fan fest, which was good. The only thing I can't tell is if there's an easy access point out of the stadium to then build an outdoor section, which would be easily done with the amount of car park space. So hopefully this venue, if they do go outside of it, and we obviously haven't seen any track maps yet, but that's potentially in a couple of weeks. But if they do, could have a really cool track. But they're going to have to then have maybe some portable seating or portable stadiums that they put up at different points around the outdoor section to increase that capacity, because I wouldn't think they'd only want 20,000 or not even 20,000 being able to watch this one.
Yeah, you'd think they'd have to go outside somehow, whether it's just a bit of standing, bit of seating somewhere. But yeah, if there's the room, surely there's got to be a way out.
Yeah. Now, venue number 2, we're in Los Angeles. We're at the LA Galaxy's home stadium, which is a soccer stadium. Again, let's have a guess at the seating size, Benny.
Probably about the same, 20.
27,000. Again,
a little better.
A little better. And again, kind of like this, the Columbus, Ohio one, has a decent amount of parking area outside. Not as much, but somewhat. But again, I don't know if they're going to be able to get out of the stadium and use the exterior parts of it, put up extra stadiums or not. Going to have to see. All right. Those first two, I'm okay with if they get out of the stadiums and have the outdoor track and then put up some, kind of like the Argentinian round of the World Supercross where they built stadium around. If they can put up, scaffold seats and stuff, we're in business. So this could be really cool. The one that is the interesting one for me, and I don't know if I've looked up the right spot, but it's what I saw. Thunder Ridge Nature Stadium in Ridgedale, Missouri. This is brought on in part 2. Now, Bass Pro Shops is the sponsor for this, and then I noticed that the sponsorship bannering of Bass Pro throughout the stadium in Anaheim. So they're obviously on board with the Super Motocross series, which is cool. They're massive. I don't know if you've ever seen one, Benny. I've been in a couple of them, and they are insane shops.
Yeah, I've seen them online. I actually had some mates go to America and bought me a hat, which I didn't bring in here because I was actually just going to lift it up if we talked about it.
Oh, what are you missing the opportunity, bro?
I know. As soon as we started talking about this, I remembered. Anyway,
too late.
But yeah, they are really cool. And for someone like me, like I like fishing and stuff like that, I'd love to go and see one. But yeah, I think it's really cool. It's a really cool crossover, random crossover, but a cool one. But I think that also comes from, Malcolm Stewart a bit.
Could be. And look, hopefully their involvement grows as they get some exposure to the sport, because it's the potential links there. I would assume that a lot of our fans go and shop in there at some point, right? Like it's the right sort of outdoorsy store, so that would fit.
Yeah.
Now,
and they do have sponsorship on NASCAR and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So they do go out into the different motorsports.
Yeah, exactly. So let's hope that they can spend a few more dollars in our sport over the next few years and become a real mainstay, let's say. But the venue, this Ridgedale, Missouri venue, as far as I can tell, when I looked at the pictures, it's an outdoor concert venue. There is no stadium seating from what I saw. It's a bit of a sloping thing. There's a stage set up, and it's parklands. So I'm really confused.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, if you Google the venue, that's what popped up, and I'm like, I had to double check, and I'm like, I still don't think I've got the right thing. So maybe I've got it completely wrong, and if I have, please, somebody out there listening, watching, tell me that I've got it wrong and send me the right thing. But I just don't understand how this one's going to work. But again, they would potentially be building a lot of stadium seating, I guess, around this to make this work. I don't know how this one's going to go, but it could be really interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I think we've had, we had guesses about the Cronulla Stadium. We had guesses about a few other stadiums. So, why not guess about this one too?
Exactly. Well, we'll watch this space, and as soon as we see some track maps and stuff, we'll talk about it again on a future show. But, really interesting to keep an eye on what is going to happen with those ones and what the track maps are going to look like. But thought I'd bring some info to the pod about those announcements that they made during the week. All right, let's dip into the emergency department, Benny. I'm going to put the thing on and play it. I've got to make a video intro for this.
The emergency department. All the injuries, all the gory details, and when they'll be back on track. It's the list you really don't want to be on.
I say it all the time when we do that intro. You don't want to be on this list, and you especially don't want to be on it after Anaheim 1, right? Like, it's not a good time to be on the list. But, and I do need to make a video entry for this at some point, Benny, so this thing's a bit live on the YouTube. We need to have a video rather than just sitting us here looking stupid while the audio's playing. Anyway. So let's go with things to note straight off the top. Obviously, we just touched on it with Hunter Yoda, a knee injury. Now, no specifics. They said ligaments torn. That could be any number of things. I've then also heard in other things meniscus tear. So again, this could be anything. But watching him ride on the weekend, Benny, in that heat race, when he hole shot and was leading a few laps there, couldn't see any evidence of a knee injury.
No, he was doing pretty well.
Yeah, he did really well.
I thought the same thing. I thought we're meant to, have a sore knee here or knee injury. It's probably a bit more than sore, but he did really well, and and then did well in the race as well. So it's obviously not too bad compared to some knee injuries that we've seen before. Yeah,
look, whatever it is that he's done, we'll probably find out in time. But for now, just know that there's something going on there. We don't have specifics on it, but he's still out on track riding. He did injure it on the Tuesday before Anaheim 1. So the further he gets away from that, the better he should be, unless he has completely torn an ACL and he's riding without one, which many of the riders do from time to time. And maybe it's a post-season surgery that's already being scheduled. Who knows? But at this stage, not really sure, so we'll move on from Hunter Yoda. Jack Chambers. Benny, did you see his crash in Q2?
No, I didn't. I saw you say in the group chat that he actually absolutely cartwheeled, and probably don't pick him for fantasy. Then I didn't see the video, and then I saw him do pretty well later on. So I was a bit like, 1 minute he's nearly, knocked out, and next minute he's doing really well.
Well, look, you touched on fantasy and my comment there, and for one, I was right. He missed the main event, so I'm glad just nobody should have picked him, right? So I was okay on that side of things. If he had made it, it would have been a whole different story. But two, on that, we've got our AlwaysMoto fantasy leagues across Rocky Mountain, Fast Moto, our bootleg league. You've got the Survivor one going, haven't you, as well, with Pulp?
Yep.
We've got leagues everywhere. If you want to join one, jump on and send us a DM, and we can get you in there as well. So, yeah, some of them obviously you won't be able to get points for the first round, but if you play down elsewhere, it'll sort itself out. Anyway, the Jack Chambers situation, he about died in Q2, right? Like, upside down, medic cart, holding his neck as they drove him off. Again, that one drives me mental. If you're going to hold somebody's neck as a stabilizing point, one, they should be on a backboard, and two, they should have a neck collar on. Now, I know the American medical system and the medical practitioners that are at the venues have different ways about their procedures and their rules and all this sort of stuff, and being sued and that. But we as a professional sport should have a guideline that is separate from all of that to some degree, still follows those predominant things, but that there is a minimum standard that if X happens, you have to do this until otherwise cleared. Yes, once you are cleared, you can get up and jump and do jumping jacks and star jumps or whatever it is that you want to do, get back on the bike later that night. But he was having a guy hold his neck as they drove him off the cart, like, what's that going to do? Seriously, if he's got a broken neck, that's doing absolutely jack shit.
Well, you think too that, with the incident a few years ago with Brian Moreau, you think, there's a legal battle going on with that. You think we'd be doing a little bit more and being a little bit more cautious than just holding the head.
Well, on that, we'll get to that in a second with the Josh and Barsha thing, but, yes, you're 100% correct. So anyway, he's gone off. He's been cleared by the doctor somehow, despite the fact that I figured he would have had concussion symptoms, but he's back and he's out there for the night show. Good on Jack. He didn't make it, unfortunately. Move on to the next week. But what I want to see out of all of this is, one, is some better medical practices going on, but two, like they have, I don't know if you've seen it, Benny, but they put out AMA puts out a report at the end of each round that has all the penalties listed across the entire event. I want to see a list that says Jack Chambers Q2, medically assessed, cleared from concussion protocol. I just want to see that list of things that are going on to know that they're actually being assessed, right? Yep. That's because this is our safety concerns for our riders and their health and well-being long-term that we need to be taking into account. So, yeah, I always shake my head at that one, and I'm sure our man from Paul from Heltech will be also looking at that going, just WTF. But anyway, on to the riders that are going to be out for San Diego after Anaheim 1 incidents. We'll start with Justin Barsha. That was horrific. For one, the angle that he fell from, the height that he fell from, geez, he's lucky to be walking away from that one. Surprisingly, a concussion and a transverse process, the wing on your vertebrae broken, is all he sustained, and obviously probably a crap ton of bruising and swollen bits and pieces along the whole body. So lucky for Justin Barsha. But as we just were talking about improving medical things, I don't know what happened, but he was on the ground for a long time before anyone touched him.
A very long time. And there's a lot can happen in that very long time that can either save a person's life or not.
Yeah, I know it's a bit extreme to say that, but like, it's potential in this scenario, right? Like, we have a very dangerous sport as it is. So not cool. Hopefully they worked out whatever was the reason for the delay in that. But also the other one that I saw at some point, obviously there's lots of videos going around about this, and some shouldn't be posted. Like, Benny, yourself, when we've been at these media briefings at Supercross in Australia and World Supercross, the first thing they bring up is if there's a critical incident, such as this one, like that Barsha was involved in, none of that video is to make its way out into the public until it's been cleared. And even once that point, you're not really posting it, right? Like, it's just not cool. But it's all out there across the place. All these random media sites are doing it. It's not very nice, right? For
and just the general consumer is just posting.
Those ones we can't control, right? But
No.
like, even them could have some, common sense and be like, hey, this isn't really cool. But they don't seem to think about that. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Even I'll just quickly go back to, I think it was 2024. We saw, can't think of his name, so I'm sorry if he's listening, but the young SX3 kid that cased the triple, broke his ankle, got carted off. I sent the video to his dad or to his page because he had it. Once he put a thing up saying, this is what's happened. Sent it. The dad was really grateful that I'd sent it, because then that way he knew like what had actually happened, because there was no footage. But I didn't post it anywhere, didn't put it up anywhere. It was hidden away, and then once I sent it to the dad, I just deleted it. Like, there's no, we haven't posted it on the page, nothing.
yeah, it's just a bit of respect. Like, there's obviously going to be times when we have some crash footage that we post, but it's because the guy pops up, jumps back on the bike and rides off, right, and continues the race. When there's a serious injury, we're going to have a bit of discretion there in terms of what we do and don't post. So, yeah, look, try and be a bit, humane to everybody out there. Have some brains.
And there was footage before the end of the main event.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous, right?
From media outlets. There was footage before the end of the main event.
Yeah, it's nuts. But one part of the footage that was a little bit disturbing too, along the medical treatment, was the fact that the first person that did get there, he's laying on his side, he's probably just landed straight on his head, and he did, as per the videos. But you don't know that. But he gets there and he grabs him by the shoulder and sort of turns him a little bit. Now, for me, that's a massive no-no. You shouldn't be touching him until you've made an assessment of him. And he came from the backside of him, so he couldn't see his eyes and he couldn't see if he was breathing or not from the backside. So there's a few issues with the approach there from the medical team that me, as a medical Adelaide health professional, not stoked on. But again, I'm sure there's lots of learning being done from that incident there, after that weekend's race. So
how much worse would it be without the airbag?
It's funny, I was having to think about this the other day, and I haven't even mentioned this to anybody else. I had a thought about it after that comment that Justin said about that he thinks that it saved him. One, for I think the only part of it that helped him was when he tipped over onto his back, right? Obviously, he then rolled a couple more times and ended up on his side. But the initial impact wouldn't have been protected by the airbag at all, because it's all from his head through his neck, right? So, and into his spine. So I don't think it made a massive difference there, but it probably helped him on the second and third impacts. But I was having a think about my own accident and if I was wearing one from Hadar a few years ago, and I thought about it and I thought there is a high potential that I might have a spleen still if I had one on. So anyway, the only other part of that I'll add to it is I looked at the price of it in a certain e-retailer that we have here in Australia, and the $1,000 sort of scared me off. So...
Yeah, no, once the cartridges are gone and you need to get new ones too.
Yeah, look, it's an expense, but obviously having an organ that I'm now missing might be worth it. So
yeah.
Yeah, anyway. All right, so that's Justin Barsha. On terms of Justin, if we're talking about just the concussion and just that little fracture of the spinous, of the transverse process on a vertebrae, and it's only one, that vertebrae should be healed in about 4 to 6 weeks. The concussion, 1 to 2 weeks potentially, given the fact that he's probably going to be limited by the fracture anyway. He should be recovered from the concussion without too much hassle. He could potentially return sooner because that single fracture would not be too much of an issue. He'd just be dealing with a little bit of pain. But I would have to think his headspace isn't great for the moment, and he would take some time just to get everything back in a straight line before he went hell for leather again. So I'm expecting not to see him until February, but let's just see how he goes. He might surprise everybody and be back sooner than what I'm mentioning here. Next one on the list. And this one, I've messaged him. I've been in touch with him. I said to him, don't feel so bad. I've done worse in terms of how long into an event before an injury occurred. But Benny Bloss unfortunately went down on basically his second lap of press day and broke his wrist. Now, that's not great. It's not a long time into the season, but at some point in the season, some people didn't even get there. So he's over the top of them at this point. But yeah, not great. But I did point out to him that I once made it one corner and one jump before I binned it and was out for the day. So he had a laugh at me, which was what I was trying to do. But yeah, it's not great for Benny Bloss.
Yeah, it's not ideal. The reports started flying pretty quick again as social media, they started coming out quick, but it's not great. And yeah, like the video he put up, he's pretty pissed off, I would say, and rightly so, especially when you've just done the pre-season and everything like that. Same as Jet, he'd be pretty pissed off with his injury as well. So it's not ideal.
No, not at all. He is going to be doing, and from our interviews with him on the shows past when we've had him on, he is an avid cyclist, so he is going to be smashing the stationary cycle like a psychopath for the next few weeks, I'd say, just beating himself up about it. But he's had surgery in Vail, Colorado. He will be back in about 4 to 6 weeks, I would say. Benny Bloss, Beater, out. One thing on Beater, that press release within, it must have been an hour or two, was fantastic. Well done, Beater, in getting that information out to us officially that quickly. That was awesome. Next on the list, Malcolm Stewart. Now, Malcolm obviously was the one that Justin Barsha landed on and unfortunately didn't make the restart of that 450 main. Dislocated left shoulder, and he didn't look comfortable when that was out. He was holding himself in a bit of a funny position. Like normally for me as a physio, when you see a dislocated shoulder, you can see exactly straight away it's dislocated. And I took 2 looks at him to actually figure out that it was dislocated because everything that he was doing was sort of not traditional dislocated shoulder position. Now, obviously some of that was to do with the fact that a 450 just landed on him. But yeah, it took me a couple of looks, Benny, to figure it out. But he was horribly looking in terms of walking off there. He was in a lot of pain.
Yeah, well, he had a bike land on him, and then he got steamrolled by Faulkner.
Faulkner, that's right.
So he got landed on and then run over. But yeah, it didn't look good. And at that point, I thought he was the one that was injured. Like that was why we had the red flag, because it was only him that we had seen. But yeah, it wasn't looking good at all. No,
so dislocated shoulders obviously have a very different timeline from person to person. Some will literally put it straight back in and go back out on track. Others will take a week off and be good. Others require a complete reconstruction and like 3 months out of action, aka Hunter Lawrence last year's injury from Tampa. So we are waiting further news on Malcolm Stewart at this point. So I will try and have my injury update video out on YouTube later this week, and hopefully by that point there will be further info that we can confirm whether he is able to rehab it, just with conservative approach, or whether he's a surgical candidate or not. So we'll come back to Malcolm Stewart in a couple of days. Where are we? Wednesday night. So probably see this on Friday. So 2 days time, I'll try and have some more information on Malcolm Stewart. But yeah, a bit of a rough go.
Every time you make a video, then
I know
after
it drives me nuts, but it is what it is. I can't control it as much as I'd love to have that information. And hopefully in time, the more people that we get to speak to, I'll become known as the guy that needs that information, and I'll get it straight away. But for the time being, yeah, I'll put out something and then an hour later we find out the actual result. So it drives me mental.
Every week.
Every damn week. All right, that's enough of the emergency department. Like we said, we'll have the video out as well later in the week for some more info. Product inspection time. Now, Benny, you've seen the pictures. I've been smiling for probably 2 weeks now straight. We have a Stark Varg EX in the shed It is our media test bike for the next 2 months. I have been putting in some time on it. I obviously went and did, and if you haven't listened to it, a couple of years ago now, I went and did the original media introduction of a Stark Varg in Barcelona and fell in love with the bike over there. And I've pretty much been singing its praises ever since. And I now have one. It's wicked.
Yeah, and for everyone listening, I've known this is coming. There was phone calls in Melbourne. There was phone calls at the Gold Coast. There was phone calls everywhere.
There's been a bit of effort going into this.
Yeah, so now it's here, and I can't wait to see the video.
Yes, well, we've got some stuff coming. I've been working on an initial first impression video that's probably 3/4 done. I'm going to try and get that out towards the end of the week, beginning of next. We have managed to put over 5 hours on the bike already, which is pretty good, which means I'm up to the first oil change on the bike, which is interesting in itself because it's an electric motorcycle, but it does still have a small portion of oil. Now, any guesses, Benny, on how much oil is in this bike?
500 mil.
Mate, way too much. It's 80 mils of oil I've got to change. It seems almost pointless, but at 5 hours, you have to drop the oil. It's kind of like one of those initial, bit lighter versions of the oil to make the initial run-in time go well. So I've got to drop that at 5 hours, but the best part is I don't have to do it again for another 40 hours after that. So by the time I hand it back, I won't have done this one oil change, and that's the extent of my maintenance for this thing. It's fantastic. I've been riding the complete dust bowl that it is at the moment because there's been no rain in our area, and I don't have to change a filter. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's the worst part. Changing the filters, it's the worst part.
That and mixing the two-stroke for me, because obviously my normal ride's a Sherco 300 two-stroke, and I haven't had to mix fuel. All I've had to remember to do is, because I'm on off-grid solar, I can charge it during the day without paying for it at all. Like, I'm not paying for it anyway if I charge it at night, but I'm just trying to pay attention to the batteries in my solar system. So I'm charging the battery on this Varg at like 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Sort of, it takes 2 to 3 hours depending on how far I've gotten the battery run down that day. And I'm charging it for nothing, so it's costing me nothing either on that aspect. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's good. I've got a mate, same thing. He's, he loves it because of that reason. He's actually he's got the first model. But yeah, same thing. It's easy to charge, no filter.
Yeah.
All this stuff. He loves it.
Yeah, it's been wicked, and I'll have some photos that I'll put out. Once I get this video up, I took some screenshots. The amount of data you can get out of this thing after a ride is insane. Like, you would know when you parked your bike up after a ride, normally you get off it and you're like, oh yeah, I think I've got about half a tank of fuel left in it. And that's all I'm getting from the information of my ride, right? Unless I had a watch on it to say that I rode for an hour or whatever, I wouldn't know. On the Varg and the dashboard and the Arkenstone phone that's on there, I know how much battery I've used. I know how many G's I hit across my ride. I know how much airtime I hit across my ride. I know how far I did, how much time I did. I know how much horsepower I actually used across my ride. And surprisingly enough with the horsepower, it's a 60 horsepower version that I've got, not the 80. You can upgrade to the 80, but I'm not going to do it, especially after I've seen this map today. It comes stock with a 40 horsepower map, and I thought, screw that. Up to the max, 60. We made the maximum power output, right? Once today in my ride for an hour and 5 minutes that I was out on my track, and it's a bush loop, so it's not wide open. The EX is an enduro model. But once today, I went over 40 horsepower usage. And I'm like, I don't need 60 even. That seems pointless. Just give me a 40 horsepower version.
Yeah, and by how much did you go over?
I think it was about 3 horsepower.
Yeah, okay, right.
So I didn't even hit 45, I don't think. So and like, I'm not going slow, trust me. The thing is fast. But yeah, the horsepower output is insane. So anyone out there that goes, I've got to get the 80 horsepower, I've got to get the 80 horsepower, So, yeah, you really don't.
Well, it's like a 450, you know. We can all buy a 450, but none of us can ride it to its full potential.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing. So, yeah, if you want to buy it just because, then whatever. But, yeah.
Yeah, I guess part of it too is like it's track dependent as well. Like obviously it's an enduro version, so you're in the bush going tight tracks. You're never going to get to the point where you can really open it up. And if you do, it's for a very short period of time, right? It's not like running out on a speedway track where you're going to use all of that. So in that scenario, yeah, you probably do, but you really need to think about what you're going to use it for as to whether you need, X amount of power. And I dare say for probably 95% of the consumers out there, 60 horsepower would be absolutely plenty.
Yeah, even just, I think I tried with my mates with 25, maybe 30.
Yeah.
And even that was like, well, calm down.
Yeah.
Like,
you can. The funny part was, like, I took a couple of mates out on it on the weekend to have a go because they were interested. And they're like, oh, how do you change the map? And is it just presets? And, 1, 2, 3, there's 5 different maps that you can pick from. But I'm like, no, you can customize one and then save it. I'm like, oh, how hard's that to do? It's as easy as a slide bar on your bloody phone. Just a couple of things. I did it in like 30 seconds. And then I hit save and away I went. And I changed the horsepower for the acceleration, and I also changed the regen amount in the same time. 30 seconds, done. It's super easy to work with. So the customization on it is awesome. But like I said, the stats on the dash as you're riding, after you ride, it's insane. You actually feel like you know what's going on. Rather than just going, oh, I had a cool ride today.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah. So we're going to come out with, obviously these videos, we're going to do a bunch of different ones trying to educate people on the bike, but I'm going to try and do a couple little short ones, hopefully funny, hopefully catchy, algorithm-ish. Rules for riding a Stark. And one of them that I'm going to mention here, and Benny, have you ever gone into a corner and, you pull the clutch in and you give it the old blip just to make sure the engine revs stay up so you don't stall it? You done that before?
Yeah.
I obviously do it a lot on a 2-stroke, right? I'm trying to keep the revs up. First day out on the Varg. It's a handbrake, so there's no clutch. Braking into a corner and I go blip. Just muscle memory decided that I needed to blip the throttle. Well, I missed that corner and went straight through 2 trees. Couldn't believe it. So rule number 1 is don't blip the throttle into a corner.
Sounds like a good rule to me.
Sounds like a fantastic rule. Rules to live by. If you want to live, that is, continue to live. So anyway, we're going to try and put together I've got a bunch written down that I've come up with so far. We'll try and make some real short videos on that. See if we can hit the algorithm and be a bit funny over time. So keep an eye on that, anyone listening and watching. So yeah.
Just while we're talking Stark, just a quick shout out. You can see the World Supercross Stark plastic over my shoulder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, thanks to them. They were basically throwing plastics at people after the Gold Coast race. So, yeah, cheers for the plastics.
Yeah, yeah, and cheers for the EX. It's even better. Yeah. We'll have to get you, maybe you have to come for a drive at some point, man. I know you're a little ways away, but maybe
I've thought about it. Don't worry.
I bet you have, yeah. So,
it's just, not 9 hours is far.
Yeah, and that's one direction, so yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Let's get to the last parts of the show, Benny. How to watch the race this weekend? Obviously, San Diego AMA Supercross. How are you watching it?
I got the pass.
Very good. Good answer.
I was going the cheap way, and in the end, which I saw in our group chat on the weekend,
comes up often.
There's someone complaining about it not working. I was that someone complaining a few years ago.
Yes.
So I just paid the money, and you don't whinge after that.
Yeah,
I know it's a bit. I know it's $280, but it's when you think about it, it's 31 races plus the archives plus Race Day Live. It's got everything on it. Just pay the money and be done with it.
Yeah, look, good point, and I'm glad you brought up the price. For us in the international side of things, it is pricey, and you see all the Americans complaining about their Peacock app and the prices of it, and it's bugger all in comparison. So we have a bit of right to complain because we are paying a decent price for it, but all those other ones that are out there that are like a backyard shonky hack feed line, they are exactly that. Get on the Super Motocross Video Pass. It's exactly what you need. It's exactly what you want. You can pause it. You can skip through ads if you're watching it later on. It just works. It was a little bit about 3 years ago, but the last 2 seasons, it has been spot on every time. Can't fault it. So just pay the money, people. Super Motocross Video Pass is the app on your phone. You can cast it to your TV. You can sit back and watch it on the big screen. It's great.
Yeah, and if you think that the app is the problem, like once you've paid that much, go check your internet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem. It's not the app. It's your internet.
It's your internet speed. Yep, definitely. So, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it'll be the same time this week. It'll be an 11 a.m. New South Wales time start for the main show, and I believe it'll be 5 a.m. for Race Day Live, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'll just double check. I've got it here in the calendar, but just let me double check.
Yeah, well, while you double check, we'll just tell everybody about pivot pegs, and pivot pegs are the best pegs you should have on your bikes because they are super wide, they are super strong, and they pivot around your peg there, and they allow you to have a better body position on the bike and improve your riding position as you are going through, and they also don't eat the boot soles of your boots anymore. So go to pivotpegs.com and get some pivot pegs for your bikes. Now, Benny, we confirmed 5 a.m.?
Well, it says 4:30 here, 4:30 to 7:30. So, but the race is at 11. So,
yeah,
4:30, 5 o'clock. So
yeah, a little bit early kickoff.
By the time they finish talking, the bike's probably on at 5. So.
Yeah, they do have a bit of a chat there. Anyway, now weather updates for San Diego's race. It is an outdoor venue at Snapdragon. It is in California. But being that southern part there, and it is towards the coast, there is potential for rains always, but there is only a 5% chance of rain. It's going to be mostly sunny, so we should be fine. It's going to be between 10 and 23 degrees Celsius, which is not exactly warm, but it's not exactly cold. So it should be a pretty comfortable event. You'll probably see guys with jackets on the parade lap, but that's about it. So should be pretty good for the evening. Now, events coming up. Now, obviously in Australia, there is some events on the horizon, but they are all a fair way away because we are in the middle of school holidays and summer and still lots of people on New Year's holidays, basically. But next weekend, obviously the AMA heads to their round 3 for Anaheim 2. They'll be back to after San Diego this weekend. That'll be January 24th, so that's our Australia Day long weekend. From a Australian side of things, the first thing that I've spotted was the New South Wales Motocross State Titles. That's on the weekend of the 28th of February, and it's going to be not in New South Wales of all places. It's going to be in Canberra, close enough to New South Wales. And then the New South Wales Off-Road Championship kicks off at Maitland on the 14th of March. As for our Australian AusPro MX series, its opening round is Wonthaggi, and it is not until March 21st. So we have a few weeks for any action, any great action here in Australia in terms of motocross and supercross. Obviously, supercross is later in the year. So some things there. We'll get some other things listed on there, the Australian Hard Enduro, etc. We'll get those dates in the list as we go through the year and try and keep you guys updated with what's coming up, and maybe you can pick one of those events to go to. All right, Benny, it's outro time. You got any last words, mate?
Just a quick shout out to Chucky Sanders leading the Dakar at the moment. It's good to watch, and hopefully he can back it up, but I think there's still 4 days left, so he's doing well at the moment, but we'll see. There's
a bit to go, and I was hoping by now we'd have something in particular from Quadlock, but it's in the mail, I believe. So maybe next week, if he's won, we will have a certain item that we'll show from Quadlock, and we'll support Chucky Sanders. But good luck to Chucky. Good luck to Toby Price in the cars as well. He's doing all right. Not probably winning the event in terms of the car overall, but he's giving it a fair shake. So I dare say he'll be learning a lot for next year as well. All right. With that, good show. Thanks to everybody out there for watching and listening. If you're not watching, you should be. We're on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're not listening, we're on Spotify. We're on Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, I should say. We're on iHeartRadio. So go and subscribe to your favorite podcast player. You'll more than likely find us. Just search Always Moto and you'll be good to go. Send us a t-shirt order. $25. info@alwaysmoto.com. Follow us on the socials. If you want to join the fantasy leagues that we're talking about earlier in the show, you just need to DM myself or Benny. Always Moto. Yours is Grinly22. What is it?
Grino22.
Grino22. I was close. But yeah, send us a message, DM on Instagram, and we'll get you in the group chat to get you the details to join our fantasy leagues if you're interested. We had a couple of extra ones there. Our SX3 man who's been on the show, Riley Burgess, joined this weekend, which was cool. Good to have Riley in the fantasy chat.
Very upset out in the middle of the ocean, being
I saw that.
geo blocked, not being able to watch Supercross.
Yeah, look,
let's add with an international viewer pass.
Yeah, I
watch it out in
don't
the ocean.
quite get how that one worked, but he probably needed a VPN or something. But anyway, he couldn't figure it out. Had to watch it later. Sorry, Riley. Bit of a joke at your expense, mate, but it was pretty funny when you were messaging back and forth. Anyway, don't forget to check out our written articles over on fullnoise.com.au. But that's it for another show. Thanks to Stark, Future, thanks to Technic Motorsport, Duramoose, Pivot Pegs, Competitive Edge Performance, and Tech 167 3D Printing for the show support. Actually, special mention to Joel from Tech 167. I sent him some measurements for the Varg's instrument cluster, the on-off switch, and he's going to try and make me something. So hopefully we'll get something there as well. So thanks to Joel for that. Thanks to the wife and kids for letting me get this done. Thanks to the contractor for being on with us the whole show. That's it, guys. We'll see you next week.